Klisman, good morning.
Morning.
Pareto Economics, you run lots of models. What does the model tell us? Are we at the beginning of a much bigger evolution in this AI defense frenzy, as I've called it? Damien seems to think we're on for something much bigger than where we are at the moment. Your view. Good morning.
Good morning. Manis and ladies and gentlemen, have you realized that the war in Ukraine has now lasted longer than the First World War? Yeah? And there's no end in sight for this war. So is there demand? Yes, because people still go to war. But is there supply of capital to fund these wars? No. We had a session yesterday where we discussed the debt crisis. Too much money is going into defense, and there's no positive ROI into this. Things are destroyed to then rebuild with more taxpayer dollars and more venture funding. So it's a destructive industry which causes opportunities on the front end, but the loss on the back end. Yeah? So who are going to be the winners and losers of this war? Well, the losers are those who are being killed and the infrastructure that's been destroyed naturally, right? And also the opportunity cost for that capital to go into other productive industries. Yes? And also what we have to realize is that the VCs putting money into this need support from the defense sector to not waste money. Meaning the mechanism of actually being successful in defense as a startup, you need to know more than just product market fit. Right, Manis? You need to understand procurement. You need to understand political relationships, defense relationships, export law for your machinery. There's a lot more that goes into it. So are you going to be able to be liquid enough to go through the process of becoming a vendor before you need to raise another round? That's why the most successful companies in this sector are going to be those who are already established, who are investing into adjacent industries, or who are investing into the new wave of technological innovation. Naturally, AI plays a big role because it's applicable across domains. So that's my 2 cents right now.
Okay. ROI, Klisman, in terms of the defense, the cyber defense area, what, you know, in terms of looking at how to invest money and the best ROI, is that the destination for this room?
My thesis for my master's was understanding sovereignty in outer space. So your topic of sovereignty...
That's way too far out of my... That's just so far above my intellectual capacity.
Physically and philosophically, I suppose you say. Look, it feels to me that it's not China, but it's Europe that's the Middle Kingdom now. Because you have the Americans with their infrastructure, yes, their vast infrastructure, and their ability to export their innovations. Europe tends to adopt as opposed to innovate themselves. And then China has a captive market on their own. Yeah. So if you're going to ask the question, maybe a side question, is China winning the AI race? Well, they're winning it in their own territory because no one else can gain access to that market, number one. And when it comes time to Europe, given the fact that America wants Europe to spend their own money on defense, yes, they're now more incentivized to spend it more wisely and maybe have EU winners being procured for defense contracts as opposed to Western companies. A perfect example is Germany, who are already questioning whether Palantir is the go-to software company for what they want to do, and they have domestic providers for this because they want to build their own sphere of influence. So Trump has done a lot. He's created a rift which has made sure that Europe focuses on their own defense using their own brains and their own muscle. So if you're going to extend this out, read 1984 and the different spheres of influence, we're seeing the emergence perhaps of that now. I say that facetiously, of course, but it is certainly the case that our data at least is showing that all regions are leveling up. Every single region is doing better than they did over the last 30 years, but they're developing at different speeds. And with that being the case, countries now have more of a voice in international affairs, and they need to protect that voice by providing their own infrastructure, or if they're going to outsource it, they're going to outsource it to a partner which believes in digital sovereignty.
So am I underestimating the Middle Kingdom's capacity to speed up and deliver the next generation of innovative cyber tech?
Well, the best they can do now is just not allow the US to play ball because they are the leaders in the West for these innovations. So they're almost saying because of the issues that we see down the road and because they believe in regulation more so they believe in keeping their own crumbling, I believe, empire, whether you believe that or not, to themselves so they can control it, they are going to have to provide something better than what the market currently has. And if that means artificially closing the gates to allow domestic players to flourish, what makes that different from putting tariffs on a country to encourage your own innovations to grow?
Take it away, Damien, because we've got a crumbling empire, and we've got protectionism, right? Yeah, Klisman, you're not exactly inspiring me this morning about the coming back to live in Europe.
Well, tell me if I'm wrong.
No, well, I'm not here to tell anybody who's right or wrong, but Damien, rebuttal, but also I'd like you to build out on that thesis about how do you interrogate a solid defence proposition in front of you.
Also, one thing to realize is that there's nowhere else for capital to go, especially if you want to invest in defence in the West. It's either NATO or it's nothing. So that's why you're going to have an accumulation of capital, a lot of that which is going to be wasted because they don't know what they're doing, as Damien mentioned. They want to get into the game, they hire a general or whatever, they think they're good for it. So with this excess capital investing in so many potential opportunities without understanding the dynamics, there's going to be a lot of VCs which are going to go under because they don't know what they're doing. You need to understand not only, as I mentioned, product market fit, but there's a whole ecosystem around this that doesn't always translate into I put X amount and I get X amount back because it's a more complex game. Much more complex game than any. I suppose the only other more complex game is pharmaceuticals, which has a much longer term time cycle for success, right? That's the only other one, which has a longer cycle of success. So it's defense and pharmaceuticals, and you need to be an expert in both to be successful.
Okay. With those kind of relationships,
you have to, because the data is going to give you the direction, but how to actually traverse it, it's always a personal relationship game, especially in defense, where you can't just have a shiny new object that people buy it. I mean, that goes without saying. I think, again, defense is the most relationship-heavy industry you can be in. Because a general leaves, he can still provide a lot of advice to you, navigating the corridors of Whitehall and navigating the corridors of Washington is going to be something you can't do by yourself.
And that's why we bring three different